Thank you all for coming. The Board of Commissioners meeting is officially in session. Commissioner Bardsley is going to lead us in prayer, and then Commissioner Wright will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me in standing.
Bow your heads in an attitude of prayer. Gracious God, Heavenly Father, as we assemble this morning, we thank you for life and for opportunity that you give us, not only with our community and our families, but in life in general. We thank you, Father. There are so many things going on in our world today, so much war and strife and hatred that goes on. We're asking, Father, that the Prince of Peace would have authority and control in the situations that are going on in the Middle East, things that are going on in our world. We pray, Father, that you help us today as we're working through the things of the county. Give us wisdom, direction, and strength, and help us in all that we do to follow you. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. All three commissioners are present today. We will move on to claims and payroll. Pre-approval was given for claims dated July 8th, 2024. General was $137,112.08. Other was $17,659.54. Highway was $51,720 for a grand total of $206,491.62. Pre-approval was given on July 6th of that day, so I'm just looking to ratify claims for 7/8/2024.
Mr. President, I would move that we ratify the claims dated 7/6/2024.
I'll second that.
Approval by Commissioner Wright, second by Commissioner Bardsley. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Mr. President, if you would, just in an omnibus form, like to go ahead with all the other pre-approvals, I think that would make it easier
That's what.
for us.
Yeah. So for the 8th, 22nd, and 26th, just do them all. Okay.
I would recommend it.
For July 15th, 2024, general total was $215,687.23. Other was $135,460.29. Highway Department was $23.50 for a grand total of $351,171.02. Again, that was for 7/15. Pre-approval was dated 7/8/2024. We will move on to July 22nd, 2024 claims. General, $185,469.17. Other, $556,706.69. Highway Department was $203,862.18 for a grand total of $946,038.04. And then finally, we will move on to, I'm sorry, that's not finally. For July 29th, 2024, the general was $238,632.88. Other was $91,387.06. Highway Department, $70,750.93 for a grand total of $400,770.87. That was for 7/29/2024. and pre-approval was given on 7/26/2024. So that is it for the pre-approvals. So I'm looking for a ratification for those, and then we will go to approval for today.
I would move to approve the pre-approvals issued on July 15, July 22, and July 29 as presented.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Bardsley, second by Commissioner Wright. Any questions or discussion, gentlemen? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And so we have a approval for August 5th, 2024. The general fund, $130,558.38. Other is $61,401.33. Highway Department was $29,803.79 for a grand total of $221,763.50. And I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
Move to approve the August 5th claims as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Bardsley, second by Commissioner Wright. If there's no other discussions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. We will move on to payroll. Payroll number 14, pre-approval was given on July 2nd, 2024 for pay dated July 5th, 2024, gross amount $642,939.05. Payroll number 15, pre-approval was given on July 16th, 2024 for pay dated July 19th, 2024, gross amount $635,592.33. And finally, payroll number 16, pre-approval was given on July 30th, 2024 for pay dated August 2nd, 2024, gross amount $633,520.30. And I will entertain a motion to ratify those pre-approvals.
Mr. President, I would move that we ratify payroll number 14, number 15, and number 16 as presented.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Wright, second by Commissioner Bardsley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, so moved. Gentlemen, we have minutes from May 20th, 2024 to approve. I believe we've all reviewed them. If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve minutes for May 20th.
I would make that motion, sir.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Bardsley, second by Commissioner Wright. Any other questions, discussions, changes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That takes care of number 4. Moving on to number 5. We do have the weights and measures monthly report. Looks like it is, date start is March 15th, 2024. Date end, April 14th, 2024. I believe we just have to show that as received. Correct, Justin?
That's correct.
It actually goes through the 614, I believe, right? Right here now.
Oh, I apologize.
Right.
Yep. So we have 3.
4 sets.
Yep, we have 4 sets here.
Okay.
Date started March 15th, April 15th, May 15th. And June 16th. Any questions or discussion, gentlemen?
Happy to receive by consent.
Receive.
Yep. Received. unless I missed something, we are moving on to communications and board updates, elected officials, boards, special committees. Is Mr. Jackson in the room?
Yes.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Morning, how are you? So everything quiet pretty much in the county this morning. Glad to report. We're a lot better shape than some county in the state of Florida this morning, so we're thankful for that. Certainly keep those folks in our thoughts and prayers too. I did want to take this opportunity to introduce Dr. Jim Willey. He is taking the position of Deputy Director for Grant County Emergency Management. He will be taking a key role in our school safety committee. The state of Indiana has changed in a lot of the things that, in a lot of the requirements for the schools these days. And so we have met monthly with the schools. We do that on a regular basis. But Jim will be stepping up and taking a lead role there, helping us stay ahead of any issues there and just helping keep the schools prepared for anything that might come along. And we do that in conjunction with the Sheriff's Department, other law enforcement in the county, schools, administrators, and all those folks. So it'll be a huge asset there. Any questions for him or I?
Just a question on any type of mutual aid. Has the South taken care of their situation? Are they putting any of our Midwestern units on
Task Force
standby?
1 was deployed yesterday evening, so they probably are staying in place as we speak. Nothing else has been requested from the state of Indiana, other than probably some electrical crews and those kind of things. Yeah, no other requests as of yet.
But we're already represented with the state of Indiana?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. President Millsworth.
Good morning, Jim.
Morning.
Morning, sir.
Shane Middlewood, Grant County Council President. If I could, I'd like to turn it over to the County Council's attorney, Mr. Woodfield, to address the body.
Sure.
Morning, Joe.
Morning.
Morning.
I'm here in my capacity as attorney for the county council. Wanted to discuss a few issues with you today and let you know the council's perspective. They met in July to discuss the funding for a new jail, and it was evident that no one on the county council is interested in, at this point, funding a jail. Their desire is to get to the bottom of what the overcrowding issues are, and then if a new jail is needed, address it at that time. Excuse me. So with those comments in mind, they are not going to, and they did not in July, no motions were made to do any sort of financing for the jail. So they would request at this time that nothing else happen on it. They would request contracts not be entered into with Envoy, BW, et cetera, until further research can be done in what actually is a proper size for a jail. It also appears from county council meetings, listening to public comment, that even if a jail project were to go forward at an $80 million price tag or whatever the number is, it certainly would not withstand the remonstrance process. So it would basically be an exercise in futility. They want to delve into the criminal justice system, see why the issues are at the jail. There are numerous issues. Believe me, that's what I do for a living, is very involved in the criminal justice system. And there are problems inside there that need to be corrected before anyone can really say what the correct number of a new jail, if a new jail even needs to be built at all. So that's issue number one. Any questions on any of that, or? Issue number 2,
Just a quick question. So have you guys talked about steps, like next steps as far as
yeah,
analyzing?
absolutely. I
determining
know
what
there's a lot of interest in making sure the prosecutor's office and the public defender's office is funded so cases can begin to move. As you may or may not know, the prosecutor is down potentially 2 positions. He's got a young man who has taken the bar, waiting on results. That could put him down 1. And then the public defenders are currently down 3 people right now. And as you may or may not be aware, there are just no attorneys in Grant County anymore. So it's a big problem. Since there are not attorneys to do the cases, there's backlog. Also, there's been some discussion about potentially looking at, I don't want to say another court per se, but some sort of magistrate/commissioner to help with the overflow of the cases that are coming into the court system right now. The courts are overwhelmed. The whole system's just overwhelmed. And what happens is people just sit in jail potentially unnecessarily. If the movement could happen, then you might get a truer number of what that jail population should be. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yep.
The second issue then is, as far as the ARPA money goes, there is a lot of interest in reopening the detention center and using it for its purpose to house juveniles, and also potentially taking the pods and using that at least temporarily, if not permanently, for inmates at the jail. There's been talk of an inpatient treatment type program run through there, similar to what the Department of Corrections does, and hopefully getting some treatment and improving the ability of the individuals who are in there to maybe not come out and commit more crimes, which obviously is a huge problem. So they would be very much interested in having discussions on that issue. They would like to be involved in the process of contractors and/or bidding. So I think that's it on that issue. If you have any questions on that.
I do got a question. So, and if Connor or Kyle wants to jump in on here, or maybe even Sheriff Garcia, so from the way I understand it, if we entered the agreement we entered into with RQAW was for them, for the quote unquote jail design. The way I understand it, and Dale, this might be a question for you, they were going to come in and let us know what our options were. Like, is a new jail feasible, might not be feasible, upgrades to the D-home that you talked about, possibly maybe a new jail is not feasible, but to renovate our current jail. So I understood that would be the next process if we brought them on to do that. That would, here's my question, I guess if we don't do that, then how do we know, or how do you guys know what our options are in order to move forward with this?
In my conversations with members individually, I believe there would be support for RQAW to come in and do that, to ascertain what the real needs are, as long as it's RQAW. I think that would be acceptable. That certainly can be discussed at the next council meeting. But I think just talking individually with President Middlesworth and Mr. Poling and some of the other members, I think there would be support for that, for sure.
Okay, so if I'm hearing you right, that piece
Yes,
could be, is on the table,
right.
but you are suggesting that we hold off on hiring BW Construction.
Correct.
Okay. Connor, I seen you raising your hand there.
Sorry, sir. Let's go.
The scoping period for this, the RFP was drafted in a way that is extremely broad and flexible. It includes possible anything from land acquisition to renovations of the sheriff's office and area, the renovation or reconstruction of judicial center type operations, the community corrections, jail. All that was in there because of the point, early on with I think it was Mr. President, it was Mike Scott, yourself, Sheriff Garcia. The issue of what is, I guess the issue was not entirely identified at that point in time. So we wrote it in a way that will give you the flexibility to start the process with the scoping. You'll need an architect, a developer to say, okay, is the issue courthouse? Okay, you determine that. What will that look like from a build-out standpoint or renovations? Do you need more, renovate the D home? Do you need to renovate the current jail? Do you need to build a new jail? Do you need to acquire land? Whatever that is, this process is only to start that, to have that conversation. And correct me if I'm speaking out of turn, but I believe the committee wanted to invite another council member with yourself and Sheriff Garcia to move through that so you could say, hey, is it there needs to be more prosecutors or more public defenders? Does there need to be more space for another court? Does it need to be a new courtroom and the D home? All that stuff that would be considered in the scoping period. You could have the county council member or two, or however you want, partake in that and get to the solution. So by no means of selecting BW or signing RQAW's contract today are you saying we're going to build a new jail. It's only the start of the process and to hopefully open that dialogue with the county council and the sheriff and the judges or the prosecutors, whoever it is, to figure out what the actual problem is and how you solve that. So it's not, there's nothing that inks you into a new jail, a new courthouse, hiring public defenders, whatever it is. It's just this is the next step to get to that point. Does that kind of hopefully address some of that? I apologize. I didn't think this was on the agenda later too. I can provide more information, but I just wanted to address that.
Yeah, no, that's kind of how I understood it. So Connor, if we, and I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate here a little bit, so if we went ahead and moved forward with BW construction today, that's not necessarily locking the county into anything as far as jail build, anything like that.
No, Mr. President. In fact, you could get 30 days in and pivot and say, hey, we don't even need this at all. We're going to do something else. You could get through the whole process and say it's not working out with BW. You can always then select another developer at that point or another architect or design firm. It is not even binding you to one possible person. It's just saying, hey, this developer, in this case BW, was the one that we reasonably believe will get us to a guaranteed max price under the BOT statute. And so you're going to begin the scoping period with them. And so it's not even really inking you to BW. I'm sure they will try their darndest to make sure that to meet all of your goals and help you through that process. But again, this is how I would say it is. This is just the next step to get you to finding the issue and then providing a solution to Grant County.
So and what that looks like is RQAW would come in and they would basically say, here's what you're going to be looking at for a jail remodel. Here's what you'd be looking at if you wanted to redo the D home. They would list out options, and then at that point, whenever that is, I would think,
Yes.
I would think one of us here would get with council,
Yeah.
discuss.
You want to have as many stakeholders involved as early as possible. And by stakeholders, I mean the commissioners. You should have the judge. You should have several council members because this is a massive undertaking, whether it's a jail or a new courthouse or a new courtroom or renovations, whatever it is. This is a massive undertaking. So commissioner, council, sheriff, a judge, a prosecutor. I don't know if you have a public defender agency, but maybe lead one of that. It's going to take a lot of people to provide input into this. And I think it's imperative that you get the main stakeholders involved, which is the commissioners, the council, and the sheriff, from the very get-go, if not all those individual or interested parties. And that way that, if the council says, and I understand entirely $80 million, that's a massive price tag. If that's I would say it's a hard pill to swallow for anyone. The council can say, hey, here's what we're thinking, here's what we can afford, how do you fit it within that scope? And how you figure out if you can fit a project within the scope that meets your budget. You have to have a design team and you have to have a developer on hand so they can say, you guys have identified the issue, here's a solution, here's what you can afford, here's what you can build with that, or whatever it is, right? And so it's a lot of work up front, but this is a massive undertaking, whatever the solution is.
Okay.
Just correct me if I'm wrong, though, BW Consulting, that's a conglomerate though, correct?
No, sir, it is, so the nice part about the BOT as well is, we wrote to play on the Olympics, it is Olympian flexibility and gymnastics style. You can, this BOT, you can choose the developer, and if you say, hey, I want you to choose A, B, and C under them, they have to listen to you and go to it. If there's someone on the team that you don't like, you can say, hey, I don't like this person, or I don't have the best feelings about this one, I've heard negative things, or say, hey, I've really heard great things about this one. You can tell them to put a team together. We did put that in the RFP, so there's the flexibility for that too. So if someone's on the team that you don't like, or there's someone that's missing you think should be on it, you can have them. That's entirely permitted within the BOT statute, and then with how we drafted the RFP as well. Does that answer your question, sir? Thanks, sir.
The sheriff has something.
Certainly, I agree with a lot of what he said, and I think the council would too. There is a lot of talent here in the criminal justice system in Grant County. You have very good judges. We do have a new prosecutor. He's coming up to speed somewhat. But until you can get these people involved in the process and listen to what they say about what's going on day to day, you can pay consultants millions of dollars, but unless they're going to speak to the people who actually know what the problem is, it's just going to be wasted money. So much money is spent on consultants, and I think that's a concern that the council has, especially when you have the people here who can answer those questions. I'm sure it's done because you want an outside perspective, you want to hear what someone else thinks, but whoever else that is needs to listen to the people who are there on the front lines every day. It's not getting better, it's getting worse. I'm sure Sheriff Garcia could testify to that. The crime is, I don't want to say it's overwhelming in Grant County, but it is continuing to grow. Judge Spitzer comes in and gives you his yearly updates. I'm sure those numbers will be up again from what they were previously. And until a handle can be held on that, talking about size of a jail just doesn't seem to help. So the RQAW piece is fine. I don't know if the explanation helped with the BW. I think the concern from the council is that, and especially the two new incoming commissioners, is that their goal is to get moving on this. In discussions with them, they are certainly fine with RQAW, but they have concerns about BW, and if President Middlesworth wants to address that a little bit further, I'll leave that up to him, but that's what I was informed. Thank you.
Sheriff Garcia's up too. You might want to say have a little input into this while you guys are still there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen. Just a couple of things. I want to echo what Mr. Gleason said. One of the big problems that we have is adjudication. We have a lot of people in jail that's been in there for a long time that haven't gone to court yet. So that's been a big issue. Today, our population is at 283. We have 274 beds. So apparently there was a busy weekend this weekend. We're trying to get those numbers back down to where they need to be. We have a lot of people going to court this morning. But adjudication is definitely an issue for the reasons that he stated. Prosecutor's office down a few people. The courts have a lot of cases to go through. But I do want to say, I think sometimes people have the wrong understanding of who's in jail. Since we started in January of last year, what we did is, and I've mentioned this in the council meeting before, we went before both city court judges and we got a list of charges that were nonviolent offenses where we could automatically let people out on their own recognizance. So we are letting people out that are nonviolent offenders. Here's the problem we run into. This is what the public needs to understand. So what our deputies do or officers do for a nonviolent offense, a lot of times they will issue them a citation to appear in court. When they don't appear in court, then a warrant, or arrest warrant is put out for their arrest. They're arrested and brought to court or brought to jail. A lot of times what happens is when we bring them to jail, if we OR them again, if the judges OR them again, they get issued another court date and they don't show up to court again. So what happens again, another warrant comes out for their arrest. And this happens not only when we cite people in the court, but it also happens when we bring people in as nonviolent offenders, we process them in, get them OR'd on their own recognizance, and then issue them a court date. They don't show up to court, a warrant is put out. So the people that are in jail today are there, that are nonviolent offenders, are there because they consistently fail to show up to court. So it's not like we're just arresting someone for stealing a candy bar out at Walmart and we're gonna keep them locked up in jail. We actually let them out. And then they're issued a court date and they don't show back up. At some point, what we as a county, as a people, have to decide how many times do we want to keep giving them chances without holding them accountable for the crimes they've committed. Now, for Walmart or Myers or a big company like that, it's no big deal. But when the victim is an individual person in your community that wants accountability for that person, for us as law enforcement, we have an obligation to hold people accountable. So there does come a point where we quit letting them out of jail because they don't show up to court. Now, once they are sentenced in court, and if they're level 6, they are being sent to the DOC, Department of Corrections, to prison. Right now, we have 72, we average between 68 to 70 some inmates that we have housed at other facilities to keep our numbers down. And what we're trying to do with that is, from what I've been told, I'm not an expert on building a new jail. I've only been in office for a year and a half. But what I've been told is if we get sued for overcrowding or the jail conditions, is that normally communities are forced to pay more by the federal judges, and if you take the matters into your own hand. So what we're facing as a community is getting sued and possibly paying more for a jail that we're forced to build. Or, what we've done on the overcrowding, we put people in other facilities, and we're paying $40 per day per inmate to be housed in other facilities. So for the 70-some, we're paying $80,000 per month to house them in other facilities. Now, what that does, that keeps us from getting sued. So, that's a good thing in a way, because now we're not having to pay high prices on both. So now we're just paying, because if we do get sued and have to build a new jail, we're gonna have to move those inmates to other facilities anyhow, we're gonna be in that same boat. So this has given us an opportunity to figure out as a community what we wanna do, what direction we wanna go. But I do agree with Mr. Glickfield, and I know I've talked to Mr. Middlesworth and Mr. Poling. Adjudication is a big issue. And if we can't get that figured out, we may not need as big of a facility, but we do need to get that figured out. We probably need to do it sooner rather than later, because as we all know, when you go to the store, things aren't at the same price they were a year ago. So as time goes on, those prices are going to keep going up. But we decided with the council, to ship inmates to other locations to buy us some time. To kind of research that and see which way we're going to go. But, like I said, today we do have 283. At the end of last week, we had 272. So hopefully we'll get back down below the 274 that we need. So I'll answer any questions. You guys have any questions for me? And if anybody out in the public ever has any questions about it, my office is open. Feel free to come in and talk to me. I'll sit down, talk to you about it, give me a call. We want to make sure that we're open and transparent with the public. I'm always going to tell you the truth. Sometimes the truth is hard, but I'll always let you know where we're at as far as the Grant County jails or the Grant County Sheriff's Office is.
Thank you, Sheriff.
I have a question for Mr. Glickfield.
Yeah.
So,
Can I just clear up one thing? I know he mentioned that the $70,000 a month. I don't think we have seen that amount yet per month. Do you know, Auditor, what have we paid out to date as far as housing out of county?
I don't know exactly how much we paid out to date. I don't have that information.
My guess is if we haven't paid, it's coming. The bill will come at some point.
I just know it hadn't come yet.
Yeah.
It's been small.
Well, while I got you there, Mr. President, you guys mentioned BW Construction. Is it an issue with BW Construction, them, or is it an issue that the fact that we're just escalating it up to that point?
No, I think there's a couple different, at least one contractor within BW that we just do not want to do business with.
Gotcha, okay. And then I have another question for Connor. So walk us through just real quick, Mr. Sullivan, if you would. So if we go ahead and go through today and we approve RQAW as the developer to give us our options, and then if we go ahead and approve BW Construction as the build team, how does the fees work to Grant County? So my question is if we approve BW today, we don't pay them a dime until it's approved.
Yes, that's an excellent point too, and due to, Mr. President, you have a good relationship in other areas with RQAW and BW. They have agreed that there would be no scoping fee for Grant County, at which point in time you guys successfully identified the issue, identified the solution. Their fees would then be incorporated into the ultimate guarantee max price, but up and from now until you guys all agree on that, you would not be paying for anything out of Grant County's pocket. Now, if there's expenses that come up that are not, that they have to pay for something ahead of time or something, maybe a permit or something like that, I think they would probably still eat that with that, I mean, depending on what it is. But for their actual services, there's no scoping fee until there's a guaranteed max price, which is at that point in time, you'd have to go through a public hearing, you'd have to go through jump over a few other hurdles at that point in time, and that would all be part of the guaranteed max price. So from today or whenever you select them to whenever you guys agree on it, there's no upfront cost for Grant County for RQAW or BW's fees throughout the scoping period. And that is important because it shows that they will be motivated to get to the solution that you guys want, and then you guys will have the driver's seat because you're not out any money. You can take your time, do it right.
Can I interrupt there just for a second?
Yeah, sorry.
I mean, they're not gonna do it for free. I mean, there's fees, they're gonna recoup their money somewhere, right?
And so that would be part of the ultimate guarantee max price for the BOT, yeah. So you would pay for it eventually once you agreed to
So
it.
have they negotiated those fees?
No, that would be part of the scoping fee that would be discussed with that stakeholder group that I was talking about earlier. So it'd be, and usually I don't want to step on anyone's toes, but some of the stuff's based on, whether there's land acquisition, or if there's, I mean, there's a few different ways they structure the fee, but that would all be, none of it's been agreed to at this point in time. That would be for the scoping review committee to kind of say what they believe is fair for that and go through what you think the actual outcome of the agreed upon solution is. And to Mr. Millsworth's concern to how we wrote the RFQ, if there is an individual or whatever it is on their team, you can exclude or instruct them to exclude it too. So does that answer your question, Mr. President?
It does, yeah. Thank
Based
you.
on the theory that we move forward, how many months out will it be before we even start talking money?
I apologize, Commissioner Barnes, that might be a Dale question. I'm just a lawyer that can help you get to that point. It depends on what the actual outcome is. Dale, do you have an idea? I apologize.
I'm just gonna guess, and you tell me if I'm in the ballpark, 6 to 8 months out, easy.
To get full design done, correct, yes.
So we're talking about future decisions that have to be made, but we're putting the ball into motion.
Yes, this is the starting gate. We have defined the need with the DLZ study. Now, we can talk about how many beds is appropriate. We can talk about how to, get people through the system faster. We can talk about, what that number needs to be, both size and financially, right? But we have just demonstrated there is a significant need. So we need to get our team in place to take it to that next step. We can understand what it's going to take if we want to go look at the D-home. We can understand what it would take to look at renovation. We can understand what it would take to go and build a new facility. But having delivered many lot projects myself, I'm not delivering this one. I'm just a representative. You need your developer with the designer, because one of the beautiful things about lot delivery is you have the designer and the architect together the whole time. So it's not like a bridge project where you pay an engineer to design it and you've got a good idea of the budget, but it took you 6 months to design the bridge. Well, inflation happened, or something happened with steel, or something happened with concrete, and now you're $300,000 over. Well, you didn't have the contractor coming through with you to throw the flag like, hey, my prices are getting out of hand, we need to do something about this. With Bot, they've got the developer, they've got the designers
we can adjust along the way so that we're not missing the mark on your upper end on that price.
So Dale, while I got you here, it's my desire, I've had people tell me that I want to build a new jail. I don't necessarily want to build a new jail. We need to make some kind of improvement, something needs to be done. So it's my goal to get us to the point where we have options presented to us. That's my goal, okay? Are we going about it the best way? This is hiring RQAW and then selecting BW.
We need to get a designer in the room so we can understand our scope. We've got kind of a shopping list of things we know that need to be addressed from the DLZ study, but now we actually need to design it, we need to quantify it, and we need to look at these different scenarios to understand with the developer what kind of costs we're getting into, so you can understand for the capacity you need, what's that total cost. And this will be all encompassing. We'll look at sheriff staffing needs. As we start talking about splitting people between facilities, that increases staffing, which increases your cost there. So we'll need to look at this as a holistic picture, not just how much it costs to build one bed.
I have a question while Dell's up there, and just a question for Mr. Glickfield. So on the D home itself, and I know we're going to be talking about our ARPA money a little later on, $50,000 of ARPA money is kind of talked about. It sounds like that might be something that we'll be able to do, more or less just for the cleanup. There's a lot of other problems in there as well, correct?
Correct. There's some functional problems, especially if you want to use it for adults because it was built for juveniles. It's been sitting, so there's things that need to be repaired, be it the cell doors or some of the outfitting within the cells. There's lots of HVAC and mechanical, electrical issues that need to be addressed. And then the facility itself, I mean, we've talked previously about how this building needs the ethos repaired and refinished. We'd be talking about the same thing across the parking lot. So there are a number of items like that that need to be addressed.
I believe in one of the earlier comments, I think Mr. Glickfield, I think you were the one who said this, was the fact that, it might be something that we could use there permanently. And I don't think that's the case with the federal courts, or federal people that we have to please. In other words, the jail size, the cell size for these individuals are built for juveniles. And so I think there's a special exception that we could ask for. Am I talking correctly?
Yes, and it's been so long since that was built, my memory becomes foggy over the years, but I believe maybe that was 2 people. You can have 1 person in there. The standards have changed since I've looked at that. So that's certainly something that's going to have to be revisited. And I know there is a process to get an exception. I think certainly under the situation that Grant County's in, that probably would be granted. And I want to stress, as far as the federal lawsuit goes, I've been in the middle of that discussion before, back in the late 90s, early 2000s. The federal courts, they just want to see the problem resolved. At least that was their take back in late 90s, early 2000s. We eventually negotiated, came up with the agreement where we had 274, 279, whatever it was as our number, and then we would notify, at that particular time, it was the Indiana Civil Liberties Union, if we got above that number. Do not live in fear of believing you need to spend 80 million or 100 million or whatever that number is to avoid a federal lawsuit. That is no one wants to get sued, believe me, I understand that, but that is a resolvable issue. It's been done before, other counties have gone through it. I've been told in Fort Wayne by my new law partners who are attorneys in Fort Wayne that that's been going on up there for 10 years. So don't feel like you have to do something because you're going to get sued. If you do get sued, then you go up and you address it through the negotiation process. That's what we did before, and it was resolved. And finally, one other point to hit on what Sheriff Garcia said. I'm filling in for Judge Barker right now in Gas City Court as he is having shoulder surgery. On our initial hearing on a Tuesday, because of the procedure that's there, and I don't want to change that because I'm not the elected judge, there were 8 warrants were issued for driving while suspended because they failed to appear for court. Driving while suspended is 8 warrants. So that's 8 times the sheriff's department's gonna have to go and arrest these people, bring them into our jail, potentially house them until they bond out of their OR. This is happening every week, and we're seeing more and more and more of those 8. 6 or 7 of them, I doubt very seriously, are citizens in this country. It's becoming a major problem, and there are solutions to it. So hopefully we will get that addressed over in Gas City to relieve the pressure off the jail. And finally, based on what Mr. Sullivan said, his explanation of the process, just in speaking with President Middlesworth briefly, that will be acceptable to go ahead and do that. Just the council's concern is twofold. One, the money being spent on consultants, and number 2, at some point, obviously they've got to do a budget and they've got to fund a jail, and it's a 500-person jail. I'm not sure the county can afford the expenses for something like that. So that's one of the reasons why they very much want to be involved in this process. Hopefully that answers all your questions.
Clarify, Mr. Glickfield, what the last part,
Yes.
and you said talking to Mr. Middlesworth.
Yeah, based on the fact that no fees are going to be billed at this point in time, I think they're acceptable
Okay.
with that.
The other part is too, I mean, Mr. Sullivan hit on a little bit, as far as adding another council member to that scoping committee. I think
Yeah.
would be a good idea.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think I'm sufficient with what I've heard as far as you being able to strike some of the
Okay.
construction contractors out there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this is a massive project. It might end up being, if it gets to that point, maybe one of the largest in Grant County's history. So I think it's important that we work with the county council. I think we all have the same goal. It's just trying to get there as inexpensively as possible for the taxpayers of Grant County. So, and then just being honest, we do have 2 new commissioners coming in 4 months. So me personally, I feel like it's important to get their buy-in on it, even though they're not officially in that position yet. I think it's important that we all work together on this project. So I appreciate you guys coming and speaking, and
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Looks like the sheriff wants to.
Yes, sir.
I just want to clarify something real quick.
Yeah.
The 80,000 that I did mention, I know Mr. Middlesworth brought it up. That's for 70 plus $40 per day. Those numbers always fluctuate because we're taking people in, we're taking people out. So sometimes you're not going to get that 80,000. I did have Becky run the numbers. We've paid out since May around 155,840. And we have 2 facilities that we currently put people in. We're looking at adding a 3rd facility, which is Wabash County. They just got sued and had to build a new jail. Howard County's just got sued. They're having to build a new jail. So as soon as they get theirs, their people up and running with the new facility in Wabash, we will try to put people in there. We have to get down to about 100, or have to get to around 103 to get down to the state's recommended amount of inmates. We should average around 220 inmates. When a jail is at 80% full, or is at 80%, they consider that full capacity because you have to have room to be able to categorize your inmates. You don't want to put someone in jail that has a low-level offense such as a minor criminal conversion or theft in with someone that's been in jail or is in jail for murder. And right now when you're overcrowded, you're not able to do that. So this gives us an opportunity to do that. So like I said, right now we paid right around 155, 840. That was just a quick number that she threw out to me. So that's where we're at with that. Also, I do want to say, as a sheriff, I am the steward of the jail. I will work with whatever the public thinks wants to give us to work with. We are there. I'm not advocating necessarily for a new jail. I'm just giving you the facts of what we're going through, what the issues are in the jail, what our numbers are in the jail, But at the end of the day, we're just a mere steward of the jail. The Grant County jail belongs to the people of Grant County, and if building a new jail, if they think that's what we need to do, then we go with that. If they want us to continue working with what we have, that's what we'll work with. So we're gonna do the best with whatever we're given.
The $80,000 that you talked about, Sheriff, that did not include transportation costs, correct?
No, that does not include transportation or medical. A lot of times with the medical, what happens is if an inmate has severe medical issues, they send them back to us because they don't want to have to pay those costs. Because I don't know if the public knows, but when a person's incarcerated in your jail, all medical, by state statute, we have to pay for any medical issues that they have. We had an individual that had cancer, and we were paying, I can't remember how many thousands of dollars per month for one medication, and we were able to get that person on house arrest to keep the county from having to take up that cost. So those can be very costly, and trust me, some of our inmates probably get better medical coverage while they're in jail than when they're not in jail. So, but we're mandated by the state. There's nothing we can do about that. So.
Thank you, Sheriff. Any other elected officials in the room that I missed? IT report.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
All right, I have two items for you this morning. So one of them is the new copier and printer agreement. And then the other one is kind of old business related to the scramble card, or the card readers that we had installed about a month ago that the jail was, or the sheriff's department needed done. I'll go ahead and we have our rep, David Rapp from Applied Innovation on the call. And I'll just have him go ahead and just give us an overview of what all is in the new proposal for the copiers and printers. David, are you on there?
Good morning, all. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
We can hear you.
Good. All right. So my name is Dave Rapp. I'm with Applied Innovation. We currently are your contracted copier and printer vendor. We are at that time where we need to start upgrading some stuff. When Advanced Imaging had this account previously to an acquisition by Applied about 3 years ago, they came in and they replaced a bunch of the mainframes, the main copiers, but left a lot of the older equipment in place as a way to get things up and running for you all there. Now that that's happening, we are seeing an uptick in service downtime and service issues with older devices. So this proposal is to replace those devices that have come off lease. So the lease price per month is $5,436.61. That will include replacement of 69 devices, a software called PaperCut that will manage the entire fleet. It will give you reporting. It will allow your IT department to remotely activate and add devices to end users. The lease also is a $1 buyout at the end of the term of 60 months. So at the end of that, if the devices are still operating properly and you guys wish to just hold on to those and maintain those through us after that, it's virtually a $1 buyout. We have also included a more streamlined maintenance fee per device. Instead of having each individual device cost different rates. So if you go over on devices, it's keeping that rate all the same per device. The price also includes delivery setup, training on all devices. It also is going to take out and remove all of the replaced devices. We also found in our discovery that there was a basement full of old devices from previous installs. Those will be removed as well from your basement there. And I believe there's one other location, Marcus, if I'm correct. The paper cut software that I spoke about just a second ago, in this lease pricing, that also covers 5 years of service and support through Applied Innovation in conjunction with the manufacturer of the software, ACDI, and our professional services to have our team work with Marcus's team to set up, train, and utilize that software. One of the things else that we've decided to do for Grant County, being an established customer of ours that is kind of a high volume customer, is instead of trying to mess with monthly, you pay us this, then we'll pay you back if you don't use it, or we'll pay, we're just going to go to a zero base on this account, which means you won't pay for anything extra. You will only pay for what you use during that month. The black and white rate on that is 0.008 cents, and the color rate is 0.053 cents per page that comes out of all your machines. That is the high level run through of that. Your current spend, just to give you an idea, your current spend is monthly $7,772.98. So we're reducing that to $5,436.61 for devices. And that's all I have, Marcus. If you guys have other questions, I'll take them.
Gentlemen?
He just told us we're
Yeah, that's
saving
what-
money.
that's right.
I wanted to know that, so.
I'm good.
Me too.
Is this the only quote you got, Marcus?
Well, that's just for the copier and printer piece. I do have, are you talking like another quote for?
Yeah, I didn't know if you approached another company or anything.
Yes, I did. I do have that. If you guys, I wasn't sure if you'd want to have to bring them in, have them.
What was their fee, monthly fee?
I don't know. I'd have to go back and get it.
I think knowing what the other one would be a good idea. Maybe. I do like saving money.
Right.
Right? What we're paying now
Right.
and stuff. But at the same
And
time,
the other company, I mean, we don't have any experience with them. It's, it's just one of those things. I know with Applied Innovation, we've been with them the last couple of years. They've done a really good job. And they've helped get us out of a bind about, I think it was about 5-6 years ago when we were switching companies. The previous company came out and pulled the toner out of all the machines, and Applied Innovation, they came in and put toner in all the machines, so that way we got back up and running. So that was kind of my viewpoint on it. They've gone above and beyond to help us out with stuff, so.
Are you good, or are you?
I think with his recommendation, I would be good. And the fact that we are saving money, because usually, I mean, like a lot of other companies, they ask for more money each time they come back to us. And this, I was with Mark, I was going to go ahead and ask the same question, what are we paying now? So I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah, I am too. So, do we need a motion on that then, or?
Yeah, and I would probably do it pending attorney review.
Okay.
Mr. President, I would move that we pass the request for Applied Innovation to take care of our copier and printer needs, and we would sign the contract after attorney's review.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Wright, second by Commissioner Bardsley. Any other questions for Marcus at this time? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is approved pending attorney approval.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Then, Dave, I think we have everything we need. Good, sir. Thanks so much for your help.
Thank you for your time. I will send you over that paperwork for review.
All right, thank you so much.
Thanks. Have a great day, all.
Yep, you too.
Thank you.
Yep. Then the last item I have, it's kind of a follow-up to previous requests. The Sheriff's Department approached us about adding more card readers to the jail and some of the D-home. And Stanley, they reached out to me and they said they were missing a component that was supposed to be included in the previous proposal. Because basically the readers, they have to connect to a controller. So we ran out of room on our controller, so we have to buy another controller so those readers can then connect and talk with the system. That was supposed to be in there, so they were apologetic about it, and I attached the email from our rep, Christopher Allen, and he was saying if we purchased the controller, they wasn't going to charge us for the installation and the return trip, because it was supposed to be initially included on the previous quote. And that amount for the controller is $1,117.22.
You thinking this comes out of data, Marcus, or is it coming out of?
I know Justin, he had an account where the other equipment for that came out of, I don't know.
Jail maintenance?
It's like jail or building maintenance.
I'll have to go back and look at what I originally used.
Yeah, they just said that if we just bought that piece, they would waive the installation and the return trip charge. Because we try to get all that stuff done in one trip, so that way we only get charged the one time, so. But their vendor missed it. So
And you have these funds in your account?
it would come out of, whatever account.
We'll purchase it. We'll purchase it.
Yes.
If we need it, we need it.
Yep. I agree.
Chair, ready for a motion?
Yes, sir.
I would make a motion that we follow through on the recommendations of our IT for Securitas Technology for a total contract of $1,117.22.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Wright, second by Commissioner Barnsley. Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 That's all I got, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Marcus.
He wasn't smiling. He's learned how to get past the smile.
Commissioner, if we could circle back to communications, we need Dale to update us on elevator.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Justin. Good morning. So we have a bid out right now for the modernization of the two main elevators here in this building. We did receive those bids on the 1st. We had 4 interested parties while we were going through the bidding process, but only one responded. That was TK Elevator. Their bid came in at $628,600. We had appropriated $650 for the job, so we're under budget. Not only are we under budget, but they were actually able to include both of the alternates that we asked for, so they'll be able to modernize the inside of the cabs as well.
Okay.
So they'll upgrade the finishes, the lighting, the ceiling. So we're keeping the cabs, the tracks, it's a traction elevator, so all the gearing and mechanisms, but all the drive components, the electronics, it'll all be new. This is all to alleviate some of the issues we've had with those elevators being offline. So, with your approval, we'd like to award to TK, and with that, we'll get it noticed and continue to follow the bidding process.
And we've already
Appropriated the money.
appropriated the money through.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I would move to approve the TK bid at it was $628
$600.
and $600. I would move to approve that.
I'll second that.
motion by Commissioner Barnsley, second by Commissioner Wright. All those in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And once again, the build, operate, transfer program is saving us money versus,
This is a traditional bid.
traditional.
We thought about going with build, operate, transfer on this as well. Elevators are such a specific thing. We weren't sure we were actually going to get responses for you doing it that way, so that's why we went with just a traditional bid.
nevertheless, we're under what we projected.
And you got the alternates in
Great.
with that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dale. Highway Department?
Morning.
Morning.
First thing I was gonna bring up, we have an unofficial detour with the state of Indiana. This is for actually work that's being done on State Road 18 in Blackstone County. They're gonna use our 1200 East, and actually, I think the job's already been completed, but she didn't get it to me in time, so I guess I'd like to get your approval so we can bill them if any damages were done, so. It'll be south of State Road 18.
So technically, we hadn't received or agreed to this,
No, she forgot to send it to us prior to the construction, so.
it's pretty much paperwork. I'd move to approve the agreement with the state.
Yeah,
Even if it is ex post facto.
I would second that.
Motion by Commissioner Bardsley, second by Commissioner Wright. All those in favor say aye.
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 Update you on a few other projects. We did get our chip seal program done on the west side of the county. We did almost 70 miles. We got that done like a month ago. Bridge 16 is closed out. That's the bridge up on EOW, just north of 600 north, the North County line. I think we had to pay the state back approximately $16,000, the money that was not all spent on the project, so we saved a little money. So we've already completed that project. It's done and over, so. The money is all being distributed for the community crossing grant, number 1 for 2024. The auditor's already set up accounts and everything for that, so when we receive that, that'll be ready for that. Along the lines with that is Bridge 84 over the river on 38th Street. Start date is planned for September 20th in that area. And the County Road Milling Pike, that project is to start milling the August 12th and 13th. And then I believe after that, they'll go to do Francis Hooker Trail. So those are moving right forward. I did apply for community crossing grant. We had about 300,000 left over that we did not bid out. So I did apply for round 2 for community crossing grant for paving projects. Like I said, it was a little over 300,000. We applied for County Road 500 North from State Road 13 to the West County line. And we also applied for 600 West from 1100 South to the South County line. Those 2 projects was right around 800,000. So if we do get it, we'll have to pay 100% of a portion of it. So we did apply for that last week. I do have a company that I'd like to recommend that we allow to compost our yard clippings and brush, etc. at the recycle center. It's Tawana, T-A-W-A. The price this year for doing it is $9,960.
This company been used before?
Yes, they've done it probably the last 3 or 4 years. It's a little bit more than in the past, but we have quite a bit more brush this year, so understandable.
I have no objection.
We just do that by consent, or do we got to vote?
Money's involved, so.
Go ahead.
I would move to approve use of Tawana again for the compost recycling.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Bardsley, second by Commissioner Wright. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 We did get all the rivers here in Marion, the bridges cleaned out from the log jams a couple of weeks ago. We got that all completed. We did get the drainage installed at the EMS building. Had a chance to look at that. So hopefully that'll work next time we get a big rain. We did receive one of our new dump trucks that we ordered last year. That's all done and completed. Bridge 791, I'm still working with the consulting for design. That's the bridge here in Marion on 14th Street. It might go for community crossing in 2025, but it might be 2026 due to utility relocating quite a bit of utilities in that area. And I think the last thing, I did start a bridge inspection for 2025 to 2029, and the paperwork and everything has to be to us by August 30th. So consulting firms will be submitting those to me for review and scoring, etc. for the rating process. So, working on that. And this afternoon, Kyle and myself were supposed to meet the company that's doing the road use agreement for Blackburn County for the wind farm. So hopefully we can get that something presented to you at the next meeting for sign off. Working on that. And then the last thing I had to bring up is we've been requested by the town of Paramount chip seal approximately 2 miles in their city limits. And we've always done it in the past. I hope it's all right because we're doing it today. So, and then I also received a phone call from the mayor of Gas City about asking if we could help maybe do some paving in alleys for their community. I really haven't got a chance to look at it real well, but I told him, there'd be something we'd either charge by the day for the machine or something like that. But I guess just want to make sure you gentlemen are all right with that if we do try to help them out. So
Mayor Rock called me and asked me, and I put him in touch with Mr. White. Sounds to me like he's agreeable, to pay for that employee that we would have, because we don't really want somebody else using our equipment that doesn't know how to use it.
Right. And we've always been as helpful as we can to our other municipalities. So I have no objections at all to assisting Fairmount and Gas City, as long as we're agreed through our superintendent.
Yep. Okay. That's all I have.
Do you know anything about a barricaded sinkhole in the westbound lane of 200 South, just west of 200 West?
Yes, we're working with the, actually it's AEP that we're working with.
Okay.
They had to bore those lines underneath the railroad track, and the bore machine got stuck.
Oh.
Had to bring another bore machine in. And actually, I just met with a contractor last week, and he's supposed to, through their insurance company, they'll get it all fixed and repaired. So
Okay.
just east of Roseburg there.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it should be done hopefully here in the next week or so.
All right, thank you.
All right, moving on to old business. ARPA request. Mr. Sheriff Garcia, is he still in?
If you don't mind, I'd like to just take a couple minutes to talk about a couple of things that happened at the sheriff's office. We had our first ever girls' camp last week. We had 20 positions for young ladies for our camp. We actually got 175 applicants apply. The young ladies learned everything from shooting a gun to K9 to CPR to how to change a flat tire, how to jump a car. Went really well. We'll definitely do it again next year. I think our staff had more fun than the young ladies did, but it went really well. We're really proud of our team members that came up with that idea and put that on for the young ladies of our county. Another thing, just I want to let you know, our coming into office last year, we noticed that some of the equipment we have is getting pretty old. Some of our defibrillators in the cars need replaced. We were able to meet with a company, and out of our commissary money, we purchased 3 and they donated 3. So we got 6 for the price of 3, which I thought was a good deal. So we're currently looking for some grant money to replace the rest of the defibrillators we have in the vehicle. So a lot of good things going on at the sheriff's office, and we're really proud of our team members, and they really work hard every day for the citizens of Marion, or Grant County, I should say. I apologize if I ever say Marion's, because I've worked for MPD for 27 years. So. But as far as the ARPA money, the request, our radios, we're getting ready to go into a phase 2 radio project that's mandated. I think it happens in the next year, 26 maybe. So we're trying to get prepared for that. So all of our radios will have to be upgraded to a new system, to new radios. We requested to stay with Motorola, even though other agencies have gone to the Kenwoods. And let me tell you why we requested to stay with Motorola. I have 30 years law enforcement experience. My chief has 40 years. And between us, when we were at MPD, they went through 3 radio changes where they switched from Motorola to another name brand, ultimately changing back to Motorola. So we know that Motorola is a good brand. We know that when we push that button to talk, it's going to go through. And when you're in our line of business, that is our lifeline to make sure we get the help that we need. So that's why we're requesting to stay with Motorola. You know, I know there's business people that, when they make a living off of whatever they're doing, whether it's Mr. Poling with his sewer business, I'm sure he buys good quality equipment for his business because that's how they make a living. I'm sure Mr. Poling or Mr. Middlesworth with farming, I think he chooses Case over John Deere. They're going to choose quality equipment because that's how they make their living. Well, for us, it's how we stay alive. And so we want to make sure we have good quality equipment, and that's why we're choosing to stay with Motorola. And we would ask that you guys would approve I think it's $600,000. Now, there are some options that we have. There's 2 options that we're looking at, Apex or Next, and the 6,000. And we're fine with either or. The Apex Next is more expensive, and the reason why is because it allows you to, when you lose signal, it allows you to link up with cellular signal or Wi-Fi. And why is that important? Well, it's important when you're in the school. You go out to Eastbrook, you go out to Oak Hill, Madison Grant. Once you get in those buildings, you have very little signal. Most of the time, you have no signal at all. So if something was to happen in that school, it'd be difficult for our SROs to communicate. So we think it's important for them to be able to do that. The Apex Next would allow us to link up to, like I said, either a cellular system or to the Wi-Fi there at the school where our SRO would be able to communicate with everybody else. And it's just not in the schools, and we do have areas of the county where we have dead spots from our signal, not very many, but there are some, and this will help alleviate some of those problems. Now, if we do go with the less expensive option, which is the Apex 6000, we're fine with that too. We just thought that we'd ask for the ones that would help our SROs. So we're good with either or, especially if we're able to do the push to talk on our phones. That would help save the county quite a bit of money. So we're just asking that that be approved for us to get either one of those systems. We'd be happy with, because by 2026, Kevin, that phase 2?
July 1st of 25.
25, okay, 2025, we go into phase 2, so all our radios will need to be replaced anyhow. So, and I think it's the ARPA money that we're requesting for that. And I do have Captain Scott Haley. He's kind of taking on the radio project for the sheriff's office. So if you have any specific questions as to the radios and how they operate, he can answer them for you, because that is not my area of expertise. So any question, comments, cogitations, sly remarks, we'll take them all.
Gentlemen?
I have no slight remarks.
I've been in the conversations when we've been talking about radios, and Mr. Middlesworth has as well, and just trying to come up and see what that is. And listening to the concerns of equipment and braking and things like that. I mean, they're tough. I mean, you gotta have some good equipment, if they're gonna last.
We're not against the Kenwoods. I just know from experience when we have switched platforms, we've always gone back. I don't know enough about the Kenwoods. I just do know that the Motorola's work. And I want to make sure that my guys and gals go home. I don't want them to not go home because when they click that radio button, something didn't happen or that it broke because it wasn't good quality. So it's nothing bad about the Kenwood. I'm sure probably a good platform. I just know we're comfortable. Just like I wouldn't switch to a high-point handgun and get rid of our SIGs because, we want to make sure we have good equipment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Mr. Hicks?
Here.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm requesting for rate requests for the rest of the county, $202,500.42 for Grant County EMS. That would replenish their fleet with dual head mobile radios for their trucks, and then portable radios for their employees while they're on the trucks. $188,386.78 for Grant County Highway. That would replace all of their radios in their trucks and put them on our system.
What was that number again?
For Highway, it was $188,386.78. And that would give them a few portables for their supervisors to use to communicate with their crews on the road. Grant County Central Dispatch, $50,000, and that would include equipping our command bus with radios. Right now it has a VHF and an 800. This would put 4 radios in the actual command bus itself, specifically for emergency communications, so I could put 4 dispatchers in there to dispatch if we had to get out of our current location. That would also start the funding for push-to-talk, which Sheriff Garcia alluded to. That would be through AT&T FirstNet, and that would be for our 4 dispatch channels: County Law, Marion Law, Marion Fire, and County Fire. Other entities such as Marion Health could piggyback onto this system at their expense if they so choose, and that would help them out as well. And then Grant County EMA, $37,733.79, and that would put radios in all of their cars. They currently only have the VHF radios, and that's it. And then finally, $45,000 for miscellaneous costs and warranties, et cetera. And if my math is correct, it would be about $523,620.99.
Say that number again, please. I'm sorry.
$523,620.99. And those would all be Kenwood radios.
Any questions for Mr. Hicks? Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Number 3, under old business, we're going to discuss the ARPA spending. I had the chance to meet with President Middlesworth and Councilman Connor, as well as Councilman Frank Hicks, and we kind of went over the quote-unquote, I call it the wish list. And just real quick, we'll kind of go through here, and obviously our discussion is not over by any means. So in the time that we had originally when we met, we decided to go ahead and approve the recycle center cover at $200,000. We approved the chiller rental for $150,000. The Jonesboro demolition at $75,000. And that money will be sent to the town of Jonesboro for them to disseminate for that demolition. We agreed to give $100,000 to the Cardinal Greenway and then $50,000 for D-Home cleanup. And that's going to be for mold remediation. So, any questions or discussion at this time, gentlemen? And we still have work to do on that, obviously, as well. So, be prepared to.
If we, excuse me, if we are in agreement with these, I think we are, our next step would be to approve those expenditures and add them to the ordinance, the ARPA ordinance, so that we can get that to the auditors, so that the council then can advertise the appropriation process.
Correct. I think it's 2 months that you have to do ARPA or not. Yeah, as council.
Now, what was the question?
The expenditures, or maybe I'm thinking of something else, there's something that takes 2 months for you to advertise. Can you think?
Just have to have 2 advertisements, or?
2 advertisements ran one time prior to the council meeting, 14 days. So it would be.
So it doesn't take two months of meetings? Okay, that's what I
But it
thought.
wouldn't
That's what I
be-
thought.
It wouldn't be done until September.
Right, okay.
That would be the earliest
Yeah,
we could do it.
So I know we're running out of time on this ARPA money that we.
So I would move to approve the recycle center cover, the chiller rental, the Jonesboro demo, Cardinal Greenway, and D-Home cleaning line items as President Stewart has already mentioned, that we approve it, attach it to our spending plan, and send it to the council for appropriation.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Bardsley, second by Commissioner Wright. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. So moved, and that will be added to the spending plan, those 5 items there. Dawn Harness, EMS, is she here? There she is.
You wanted to talk about the cot purchase. Typically cots are part of the ambulance purchase. This company that we use this time that won the county bid was gonna charge storage fees for the cots, so we opted to separate those purchases. We had the cots delivered directly to us. We stored them while the ambulances were being built. That's why this is a separate bill than the ambulances that you've already paid for. Otherwise, you wouldn't even notice it. I don't know, do you have the invoices?
Not in front of us.
They're separate. I don't know why they do it. I don't know why they separate them. You got cots, you got chargers, batteries, and charging cords.
Thanks.
Now, included in there is my math for about the 5th page back. Right here. My math, because we did have a cot that was in our fire that insurance paid to replace. I'm not sure what percentage they paid us. I submitted a separate invoice for that to the insurance company. I don't know what they paid us for that. That all went to your office. So that could be cut by a quarter and be paid with insurance money. The very last page is that invoice that I submitted to the Liberty when we had the fire. That also includes a $10,000 credit for cops we traded in, which we've already done. That should be in there too, yeah.
So I think probably bottom line is there was 1.2 million appropriated for ambulances. That was not completely spent. because the costs weren't included. So we'd like to take what's left over of that 1.2. Do you remember off the top of your head, is it 80,000?
No, there's $136,520, which almost covers this whole amount.
It will cover the full amount, and that was the intention, to have a full unit, so.
Yeah, and we're legally, Mr. Sullivan, correct me if I'm wrong, but he reviewed this and we can go ahead and do that without any other additional appropriations.
Yeah, since since you explained that the costs are typically part of the ambulance, that you guys save money by not having them charge you a holding fee and acquire them separately. In the original purchase of the ambulances, costs were a part of the scope. They were mentioned in there. So there's no issue from you guys going outside the scope that was agreed upon. And I believe I heard you too, that it's still under the $1.2 million. So that from a legal standpoint, that it doesn't, there's no need to or do another appropriation hearing over it. It's still part of the same transaction.
Perfect.
So would this just be a consent then?
I would think so, since it's already
been appropriated.
Yeah, it's been appropriated, and our scope was, we wanted the whole package. This is part of the whole package.
Right.
I would just recommend we instruct the director to go ahead and to make that purchase and to bill it to the appropriate line item.
Yep.
So it's a form of a motion, or for consent,
We can consent.
Yeah, consent.
I've already gone through the whole process.
Yep, I'm good.
You good?
Do you know those numbers?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Thank you. Finally, moving on to new business. Ratification of pre-approval travel request, Mr. Hicks.
Good morning again. I have an employee who has requested to attend a training in Ohio. It is the Collar the Killer. It is a very interesting class. We get 911 calls from a lot of various different people, and one of them could be the suspect in the crime itself. This would help train this individual on how to recognize that information, that person, and provide that information to our responding law enforcement. And then I would like to go to Savannah, Georgia to take a certification class to become certified to review our emergency medical calls. Currently, we pay about $20,000 a year to have somebody else outside do that. It's my goal to get employees certified and do that on our own. So we don't have to pay that, but right now that's what we pay. So this will be the first step in doing that. I would take the class, and then hopefully within the next year or so, I would get a couple more who are interested and capable and take the class as well as become certified, so we don't have to pay the contractors to review our cases.
This has already been approved, right?
It has been.
Okay, please ratify.
On July 16th.
Yes.
Okay, ratify.
Just a follow-up question. Do we have a training line item in your budget?
Yes.
Okay.
And they're both approved by the State Board of Accounts for 911.
Good.
So I'll entertain a motion to ratify the pre-approval that was already given to Mr. Hicks on July 16th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Wright, second by Commissioner Bardsley. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Mr. Sullivan.
Yes, Mr. President, the next item is the selection and execution of scoping agreement. I think today is just the selection of the bot developer for scoping. So it is based on the conversation we've had earlier into this meeting today to move. I have two motions I want to make. The first motion being that you will move forward with BW as the possible bot developer to begin the scoping period with them. The second motion would be to initiate and begin having a stakeholders committee, which would comprise of the members of the original review committee, which was Mr. President, yourself, Justin, as the Director of Administration, Sheriff Garcia, and Councilmember Mike Scott, with the addition of Council President Shane Millsworth, as well as you go along, if you want to add, the prosecutor or judges, whoever, you can leave that open, but just to start that stakeholders committee so you can get this process started with BW. So there's two motions that I would request that you would approve and make today.
And that stakeholder committee would basically get together once the design options have come out to discuss.
You would get together right away. My recommendation would be get together right away and start figuring out how you are going to identify the issue for whatever it is, and whether that's like the various options discussed earlier. That stakeholder committee would help formulate what that is. And then once you identify the issue, then you can find the solution. And so it could be design, it could be whatever it is. I'm not the construction person, so I don't want to misspeak on any of that. But quite frankly, just like the review committee, Mr. President, I know you, Justin and Sheriff Garcia and Dale were quite involved with it. And you meet a decent amount, so you're going to get to know each other real well. But it's a big project, so you have to take time to do the due diligence to find out what the actual issue is and to get the right solution for Grant County. But and Dale would have to, I'm sure, but you'd want to start meeting sooner rather than later.
Okay. So your second motion would be to add President Millsworth at this time?
And then as well as you guys see fit, whether it's the prosecutor to come in on a couple times or give a permanent member or a judge, whoever it is you deem necessary to add to it to make sure you get all the stakeholders have their opinion provided and concerns heard. But those are just the initial ones that I think will be enough to get this project rolling.
And if I'm all for all that. So down the road, let's say next month we add a judge to this stakeholder. Do we have to approve that through here, or is that?
No, sir. You would just approve. Like I said, just approve the known individuals right now. Then just have a mark saying that add and others as needed or something like that. Because they don't have to be permanent members. The judges, I know they have a busy schedule. And if adjudication is the issue, I'm not saying it is. You don't want to take away from time to attend to their docket too. So maybe don't want to have them in there all the time. But you can make them permanent members, temporary, just someone to come in and just say, hey, here's our issue, how we see it. It's going to be up to the stakeholder committee, but the key functional members would be yourself, Justin, Sheriff Garcia, Mike Scott, Shane Millsworth, and I don't think I forget anyone else. And then myself and Dale would be advisors. BW would be a part of that as well. RQAW would be an advisor too, but the members of Grant County, who are the quote-unquote owners for the BOT purposes, would be that stakeholder committee.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Sullivan?
One comment.
Yes, sir, please.
Can you just make it like council members instead of actual names?
Yeah, you can do that in case you or Mr. Scott are able to attend or something like that. Yeah, I think that's fair for the sake of making sure that, to make sure that things are moving along.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, we have a motion in front of us to approve BW as the selection and execution of scoping agreement jail project to select BW Construction as the BOT developer. And then our second would be to add members of the county council to the stakeholder group that's going to be overseeing this. Questions, comments? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I think you could probably do it in one motion. She's recommending two or
Either one. Either one's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
And that we don't name, but to have two council members as available.
Yeah, they need to, they have 7, so they need to have more representation, so. Yeah.
A lot of verbiage there.
It is.
I would just say, motion is Mr. Sullivan presented, so.
I would make a motion to move forward with the scoping agreement as presented, with the addition of an extra county council person to the committee. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Does that cover the bases?
Yes, sir.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Barnsley, second by Commissioner Wright. Any other questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. All right, so approved, so moved, approved. And since we have done that, the owner-architect agreement with RQAW, so that was approved at a meeting a while back. I don't know which meeting it was. So since we have BW Construction as the developer, then we're going to go ahead and sign that, and we'll sign the agreement. It's already been reviewed by you.
Yes, you have previously selected RQAW as your preferred design team for this project. So you would just be signing the actual agreement today and then approving it and having it assigned to the BW as soon as possible.
Because they will work together on this, so.
Yeah, so it puts the liability under them and one less contract for you guys have to worry about. But in the meantime, you want to get them started sooner or later to get them brought in to advise the stakeholder committee.
Okay, so do we physically sign the agreement now then? Is that what we're doing, or is it?
Yeah, Justin, do you have a copy? Yes.
So just one question, just to make sure, which we discussed earlier in the conversation, that it sounds to me like there is measures that even though we're signing an agreement with RQAW, we still have the right to turn down any vendor that they possibly could use.
Yeah, for BW under the BOT, yes.
Just to clarify that in this portion of the meeting.
BW, anyone that was a part of their team or that they want to add, it's ultimately the county's say. So if there's ones that you have a previous history that is not to your liking, you are permitted to say, hey, I don't want vendor A, but I would like vendor B. So that was drafted in a way so you are able to do that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I think Angie has to attest. All right, moving on. Ratification of pre-approval ambulance lease extension. So on July 1st of 2024, I give a pre-approval to extend the lease agreement between the county and Marion General Hospital, doing business as Marion Health. So we just got to get ratification of that pre-approval. And there, if you'll remember, there's still.
Yep. I would support it. It's for 2 months, I believe it was, wasn't it?
Until September 30th.
Yep. So I would move that we ratify that pre-approval.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Wright, second by Commissioner Barnsley to ratify the ambulance lease agreement. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So moved. And finally, so we are going to the solar moratorium discussion. I'm going to go ahead and invite I don't think we're going to have time for public comment today. We have a Board of Finance meeting at 12 o'clock, so we basically got 15 minutes. I wanted to go ahead and invite the public to speak for or against the solar moratorium. It comes out of moratorium today. I think that's the proper way to say that, is that it comes out. We don't vote that out. It just automatically comes out. So we wanted to have a little bit of discussion on that. But before we do, I just wanted to invite anybody to come up and speak, since we are going to be kind of cutting it close on time today.
Thank you for taking input on this. Trina Radabush with GNX Solar. We've been working in the county for 3+ years. We have been engaging with neighbors, with community members, with county stakeholders. We have heeded the moratorium for the last 6 months. I know that was put in place so that the APC could do additional findings, could make adjustments to the rules by which we could develop the project. They have used that time the way that they chose to use that time. I would ask that you allow the moratorium to sunset, allow us to continue to develop a project that will meet or exceed the current requirements. Should the APC want to modify the ordinance, they still have that ability to do so. But we ask that you allow, it's time to expire. And I appreciate you hearing that, but
Thanks, Trina.
thanks.
Good morning. I didn't plan to speak, so bear with me.
I just need your name and address, Dallas, please.
Dallas Street, I live between Van Buren and Matthews. So I'm here in support of the solar moratorium. I think it should be extended. It's an election year. We've already been through the primaries. Seats are going to change. I think we're all aware of that, but the decisions made with solar now could impact decades, whether it be through damage to the land. We don't know the end result, right? And so it wouldn't be appropriate, or we shouldn't ask two sitting commissioners to make decisions that could impact decades who will be replaced at the end of the year. So the extension of the solar moratorium, coupled with the area plan recently voted on and approved, I think would secure the time frame necessary to make any adjustments to the already existing ordinance that could make sure the citizens in the county that will be directly affected are secured and feel safe about moving forward with any type of solar project. So I would be in support of extending the moratorium. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, Bill Creech, 1409 Ironwood, Marion.
Hi, Mr. Creech.
How you doing today?
Good.
I would be supportive of extending the moratorium. A couple things. Number one, I attended the meeting that they had with the county council. And Mr. Glickfield gave some very good suggestions as far as how to move forward because of all the different questions, concerns, and all that have came up, categorizing those and taking those in a couple different issues at a time and resolving them. And the point is once you resolve them, then you can move on to the next phase, the next phase, and the next phase, and you can come up with a total solution. In all these discussions that we've had so far, from my perspective, is we just go off on different tangents. So I think you have to have a coordinated plan where you complete this section, and then you move on to the next one, and then you come up with a finished product, which is the ordinance, also in coordination with the plan for what the city's the county's going to do. It hasn't been updated for a long, long time. So I think you can work with that, work with this, and I think that would be what we do. Also, the point about elections, not so much from a city or county perspective, but from a federal perspective, nobody knows what's going to happen with that. And a lot of this project, I'm sure, has subsidiaries from taxpayers that are getting paid. And if those go away, I don't know what the impact of that would totally be. So pushing that out, getting questions and answers of the maybe a possibly new administration in would be, I think, very, very wise. But the biggest thing is having a tiered plan so you can come to an actual solution. So when one set of issues is resolved, you move on to another one. You don't keep going back and going off all the different tangents. That's all I'm saying. And then you can come to resolution, and whether people like it or not, you had a thoughtful process.
Thank you, Mr. Creech. Anybody else like to speak?
Good morning. Commissioners. Michael Duke, out between Landis and Canfield in no man's land. I would say ditto to Mr. Street's comments and opinion. I would ask the commissioners, again, as I have asked in previous meetings, that you consider an action to extend the moratorium on industrial solar development until the time that the Area Plan Commission has completed the revision and the approval of a new comprehensive plan for the county. That is some of my plea to you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Michael Spalding. I live at 7895 West North 00 South, over by Swayze, Dallas. I wasn't prepared to speak this morning, but I basically have an important question to myself. Is we enacted the moratorium, I believe, in order to give an opportunity for the various teams or people involved to come together and come up with amendments that they wanted to be made to the ordinance, not just so it could sit there and nothing be done. So is there a list of items that people want amended, or did we just waste the time that the moratorium was in effect, is where I'm at. I haven't heard anything from either side as to what we should or shouldn't change, and I thought that was the purpose.
I think they're still working on, I think everybody's still working on some things, so.
It's a relevant question. We sent back to the APC a request that started a clock ticking, that they were supposed to have a public hearing on setbacks, on the setbacks for not only residents, but for the drainage and one other matter. But
caps, maybe caps.
Yeah, caps. And we put that back in their ball court, and they're supposed to have a public hearing in a certain amount of time according to state law.
Have they expired? Is that time period expired, or?
I cannot tell you the exact timing on that. I'm sorry.
I don't think it's expired yet, but it's getting close.
Okay, I guess my suggestion would be that if all the parties haven't had their opportunity to do their portion of what was supposed to take place during the moratorium, that we need to extend it so that they have that time that they should, that's allotted to them. If their state statute says that it has to be done in this amount of time, then maybe it needs to be extended to at least encompass that amount of time. Otherwise, I guess I hate to say it, but if they didn't do what they were supposed to do in that amount of time that we give them the moratorium, then they dropped the ball. But I think that all parties need to have their opportunity to do what the moratorium was intended for, and that was to come up with amendments for the order. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, my name's Roy Craig. My address is 6724 North 75 East Uniondale. I own property at Van Buren, one of the owners that would be impacted by the project. I'm amazed at the statements here. Yeah, we've had 6 months, nothing's happened. I guess I'm not sure, other than this being a stall that's impacting a lot of people and really taking options away from landowners as far as their property rights to make decisions. It's obviously extending the moratorium. I don't think it's going to produce anything productive. We have the same people speak basically at all the meetings. Obviously, they're opposed to the project, but we need to move it forward, get this properties basically improved so that the taxes of the county basically can go down for the rest of the residents as the tax base increases. This is nearly, these 3 projects, I think Mr. Duval said the projects were nearly $1 billion in improvements that would come into the county. And obviously the impact on the taxes for the rest of the taxpayers of the county obviously would be substantial if you increase that base that much. So the more delays are just delays, basically what it boils down to. And I'd like to see the moratorium lifted so that we can stop some of the slanderous remarks that have happened over time here and be more positive and move things forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Charles Weaver. I'm from Marion and Swayze.
Morning, Mr. Weaver.
Good morning. And I agree with the gentleman before me. I believe that the moratorium should be ended. Where people have said that there's been nothing done. Kenny Gates, who's a good friend of mine, is on the ditch board. He worked with the solar people and worked that out about the setback from the main ditches. And the ditches will be affected if they put the solar system in. Also, there was the setbacks have been agreed on to help the APC or the Area Planning Commission agree with what they want. And most of the things are done has been put in their lap, and they haven't responded. Yes, they want to delay it to the first of the year, and that's obviously why. The people that I think that have spoken that's against it have all the right in the world to speak against it. It's not going to damage their land because they said no. And some of these people don't own farms. You got to have 40 acres to participate in the project to start with. Some of them don't, but they can still be against it. That's their right. But there's approximately 37 farm owners that have agreed to it, have signed the paper that want it. They're the ones that have spoken. Are they here? No. Why not? Well, they don't want to be ridiculed. They don't want to be called names. They've made their decision on signing that paper. They read that contract. The contract states about the ditching, about the setbacks, about the mound that's put in front of it so you can't see it. You drive by some places every day and never even see these solar fields. So I think that you have done your part. I think it's up to the Area Plan Commission to quit stalling and agree with it and get it on. The solar companies have worked diligently with you guys, with the APC, and with the farmers. But if you look at a contract, you find out that all these things are covered. It brings in multi-hundred thousands of dollars to the community, to the town, to help with the real estate taxes. That's nothing but a boom. You may not like the looks of one a mile when you're going to Kmart or Walmart. You may not like that, but still, it's progress. South Bend has just agreed to put one up that's going to take care of 60,000 homes. And we're arguing over a little bit that's not good for us. It's good for other people, but it's not good for us. The farmers say there it is. They signed the paper, they signed the back of the paper. Let's get on with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver.
Can I have 2 minutes?
Sure.
I'm not a member of the APC. I do make it a point to go to as many of those meetings as possible, and I think there's a misunderstanding here. I don't want you guys to think that they're stalling or dragging their heels. I know that a committee has been formed with members of the area plan, a member of the DZA, members of the community that volunteered to be on this committee. The question was posed for or against solar. Anyone who wanted to be on the committee is welcome, and that committee was formed to go through the ordinance and suggest amendments and try to find a common ground there, right? But I also want to remind your panel that they just had an executive director who had been working on this ordinance with the solar companies directly since 2021, and we didn't get an ordinance until the end of 2023. Is that correct, if I remember correctly?
That's not correct.
Oh, when did the ordinance get signed?
We did it at least in 22.
June and 22.
Okay. 22.
July and 22.
July.
First meeting in July.
So, but my point is, that it takes a little bit of time, right? So they also have other things going on inside the county. I don't want people to think that the area plan is dragging their feet through this process. I think the absence of an executive director and finding his replacement might have added a little bit of extra stress there. But as someone who attends these meetings, I don't want there to be a misconception that they're dragging their feet, because it does get addressed frequently. And I believe the meetings that they do have with this committee are public. That would be a question for the area plan themselves, but I just wanted to clear up those misconceptions as someone who tries to get to as many as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. So it's after 12. That'll be all the public comments at this point. I know I was going to recommend a 6-month extension on the moratorium. My two colleagues, I don't know, I'm not exactly sure where you stand on that. I know Mr. Wright had some prepared statements that he wanted to make. So we'll allow Mr. Wright his time now, and we'll see where we're at the end of that.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Sure.
Appreciate all of you being here today, so I can have a word with you. For the past 2 years, I've been serving as your commissioner. When I first came in, the hot topic was solar. So I studied the possibilities of solar coming to Grant County. I listened to the concerns and really was looking at the upside and downside as well. The upside was solar companies were not looking for free land, as many businesses request. They were not looking for infrastructure such as water, sewer, or roads, as many businesses require. And what I believe was one of the biggest upsides, they were not seeking laborers, therefore not taking workers from an already strained workforce. Everywhere you look today, there is a shingle out at every factory, warehouse, distribution center, and even fast food restaurants looking for workers. I heard from people who gave their opinions on the downside about it, saying things like, put down your fork because you're not going to have food to eat. All the panels come from China, where they use slave labor, and you're supporting China. And one of the more concerning sayings was, the power will not be here for Grant County and consumed. One of the biggest mistruths was no one wants this in Grant County. Using the maps the Citizens for Responsible Solar posted on their Facebook page, they listed 38 different properties who were under contract to have solar on their land. And 2 of them spoke today. I want to make the following comments, so they will be in the minutes and on the Grant County website YouTube feed. When it comes to food shortage, people may not know this, but there are over 181,000 tillable acres of farm ground in Grant County. Corn is the largest of the crops grown here. When I ask farmers, do they take their corn to the same elevator every year, their response is, we take it where we can make the most money. And I get that. People ought to be able to do with their goods or land what they want. I feel the same way for those people who want to make more money on the rental of their farmland. Farmers are currently paying yearly an average of about $250 an acre. Solar companies are willing to pay $1,000 an acre. I'm a proponent of less government control, but those who want a moratorium evidently want government to tell people what they can or can't do. While farmers are seeing twice the yield they were getting 10 years ago due to new technology and seed and chemicals they apply, those who want to tamp down the price of their rental costs are fighting to keep it low and do not want to compete with solar companies. While I've been told the farmers' input cost has risen, I don't believe it's 100%. When it comes to food shortage, I'm not sure how many bushels of corn goes to the ethanol plants, but this past harvest season, our local plant asked the county if we had any property that was available for their overflow, as they had filled their 2 new large storage bins they had just built a few years back. I was told about 60% of the corn that farmers take to them is used for consumable alcohol, not ethanol. So if the farmers are worried about food shortage, why are they supporting the consumable alcohol business? Federal subsidies have been in the discussion. While I know the solar companies would want tax abatement and they receive federal subsidies, I also know that in 2022, $6.8 million were given to farmers here in Grant County alone. Also, the state sets the farmland assessment for their land. This year, there was a reduction. The 2024 assessment is $2,280 per acre, and yet the land is selling for $12,000 to $13,000 an acre. Interesting. Addressing the statement that no one wants solar here in Grant County because they did not show up for any of the meetings. I've talked to many of them who have called and shared with me their stories. One that bothered me the most was the individual who told me they were being shunned at their own church they have been going to for years. And it was all because they signed a contract with a solar company. Another told me they have an autistic child, and if they were able to make the solar company's rate of $1,000 instead of $250 they were receiving from the farmer they sharecropped with, it would set their son up for after he and his wife passed away. These are just a few of the stories I've been told. I think they have merit, and property rights come into play. When I came in, I took an open commissioner's seat on the area plan. There had been lots of discussion around solar over the past 2 years. Every meeting I listened to concerned citizens, sometime by the hours. I was challenged that I had not had time to study solar. I shared with the group, I worked for an electric utility company for 20 years, and I do know about electricity. And when those think that they know everything about solar, especially about the power not staying here in Grant County, the truth is solar power that could be generated or would be generated here in Grant County would actually be consumed here in Grant County. The grid owner, PJM, is looking for green energy that they can sell to manufacturers throughout their customer base who want to have a positive effect on air quality. Local manufacturing plants such as General Motors, Huhtamaki, and others are seeking green energy from PJM along with I&M and their providers. Their corporate headquarters has goals of using technology for their plants. A little electricity 101. You see, the solar panel collects the sun rays and turns it into DC voltage. Within the solar fields, there are inverters that changes the voltage into AC voltage, so it can be uploaded to the grid at the station. When the electron comes out of the inverter in the field, it does not come out with a mail tag to be sent to New York or other places that have been mentioned here in our meetings. Electricity flows to the path of least resistance, which is going to be consumed here in Grant County. So when I was challenged about my knowledge, I turned the table on certain members of the APC. They had in their rules members cannot be absent 3 meetings in a row, or they would be removed, and the appointing body would supply another name. I asked for an attendance sheet, as I had heard there would be meetings with not enough members in attendance to have a quorum. Over half the board had missed 3 or more in a row within the last 14 months before I made my statement. Another item I pointed out to them was the Grant County Comprehensive Plan had not been updated since 1997, and in it was the goal of making the bypass of Marion 4 lanes. I researched and found Indiana state statute states that counties are required to update their plan every 5 years, and it is the APC's responsibility to make that happen. Some members stated that they had reviewed it several years ago, but never filed it. I pressed the question again and was given the excuse, we do not have the money to do a comprehensive plan. While I was still on the board, I was able to start the process receiving an Okra grant for $60,000 from the grant that the Grant County taxpayers did not have to pay. While I know Okra tax dollars is our money, those dollars would have gone to another community if we had not captured them for us. I find it ironic that the APC is now saying they want to wait until next year when the comprehensive plan is completed, when they did not even care before. They are only wanting to put solar on hold until 2 of the current commissioners will be replaced and let solar die its natural death. I also find it disturbing that the current president of the APC is on record stating, I have to protect my farm and my boys. When it comes to solar, that's what he said. Indiana state statute says a member of the APC board, you must not have any bias or conflict of interest on anything that you will be voting on. And Mr. Atkins has been one in the forefront leading the charge against solar in Grant County. There is also a member on the board who has a residency problem, but that's a whole nother story. When it comes to the Board of Zoning Appeals, we have a serious problem there as well. I'm sorry to say the president of the BZA, Mr. Hartman, is an appointment by the commissioners. He too has been leading the charge when it comes to no solar in Grant County. He was the one who paid for an attorney to draft an ordinance that was so restrictive, it would keep solar companies from even looking at Grant County. And that was his objective. He too serves on a board where he's to have no bias or conflict of interest. You might want to ask him who he works for. He has led the BZA in making many bad decisions that has stunted the growth of Grant County and taxpayers. One particular instance was a developer who wanted to build a $750,000 4-unit upscale apartment complex in Upland. He needed 5 feet of variance. The BZA had received a letter of support from the town board and another letter from the town council stating that they were in favor of the construction. A few townspeople showed up to state their concerns. 3 members on the BZA who are from Upland helped vote down the request. Were they friends of the concerned citizens? Was there a promise that the request would not be permitted? This is only one of several questions or requests that have been turned down by the BZA. It's like they always look for a reason to turn down project instead of trying to figure out how to make it work. One member who was against it even stated that he would support 2 units, but not 4. If the developer wanted to build 2 units, he would not have had to been even need to come for a special exception to the BZA. The pompous attitude of both the APC and the BZA is one of the reasons we do not have more development within Grant County. I know of one project that is part of the city of Marion and part in the county, and they are considering annexing into the city of Marion so they don't have to deal with these 2 boards. While I still believe there is a compromise that could be made for Grant County to accept some solar, I know this crowd is dead set against it. You want to put it in a moratorium just as the same people demanded the windmills be put there 11 years ago and is still there, just as solar will be. I believe we will be making a huge mistake by totally keeping solar out. While I do not have anything in writing, I have been told that one solar company would bring in about $1 million a year in tax revenue. And there are 4 different companies who have shown interest in Grant County. If all 4 decide to come, they would need about 1,200 acres or less each. So around 5,000 acres out of solar out of 181,000 available. So you are asking us to turn down up to $4 million a year worth of tax revenue that go a long way in our county for the 66,000 people that I represent. I am thankful that your forefathers were more understanding when it came to putting in their county roads, or our county roads, state highways, and even our electric utility lines. You can thank them for being forward-thinking and helping you get your equipment from field to field, electric to run all your farm machinery, and to help power communities from substation to substation. And for residents who live in incorporated areas that have natural gas and other utilities, thank those landowners in the past for allowing the state and utility companies to either buy right-of-way or the land for the transportation we have today. The APC has had over 2 years to file formal recommendations to changes they would like to have amended in the current ordinance and have chosen not to act. Their recommendation is just to throw it in moratorium so it will die the same death of windmills. I know there are some items in the ordinance that need to be tweaked. There are many protective items within the ordinance, and one is that the APC is the funnel for a solar company to submit their application. After reading the notice for last week's APC meeting in the Chronicle Tribune, it appears that the APC will not be taking applications until after the first year. I'm not sure if that's legal or not. We'll let the attorney sort that out. But one thing for sure, we have an APC board that has not acted on behalf of all residents in Grant County, and they have one thing in mind: to keep development from coming to Grant County once again. And that is my statement.
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
Could I have 1 minute?
We're done with public comments there, Mr. Brankel.
I'm sorry, Mr. Wright, I probably should have voted for you, but I would vote that they would make a monument and put you at the square.
Point 4, shouldn't have any discussion.
So I'm moving on here. I was going to suggest a 6-month moratorium. I think I know how Commissioner Wright feels. Would you be in support?
In deference, I agreed to a 6-month moratorium. We did our part. We sent information back requesting direction from APC, and I haven't seen it yet. My intention would be to allow the item to sunset, and we hammer things out the rest of the year.
I know I'm not allowed to speak legally, but I think that's a bad decision. We're facing something that's going to affect this county for 25 years. I don't understand how 6 months would make any big difference in any of it. It's a 25-year investment, and if this is valuable to us, then the solar company should be willing to take care of so much of it.
Thank you.
I know that's illegal, but I just had to say it.
And the 66,000 people did speak and they voted.
15% of them did.
Well, that's because the turnout.
We are in
didn't
recess,
like what
folks.
They saw.
Thank you.
That's all it took to vote you out.
That's all.
That's all it took. And I was one of them.
Good for you. You did me a favor. All right.
We'll be having the Board of Finance meeting at 12:30. 12:30. 12:30.
So we got 15.
Yes.